What is up, gamers? Rick here, and welcome to, well, another announcement to the announcement after the announcement. So, in case you guys missed it, I am having a video game tournament of a newer game. I didn't realize it was actually newer. I thought it came out last year. It came out this year. Of a newer game called Your Only Move is Hustle. I wanted to basically do a little video game tutorial for this. I guess I can put this up to Rick's Random Rambles or whatever, because, well, it's an interesting game. It is a very interesting game. So we're gonna get right into it, and I'm gonna walk you through. Just a quick reminder: if anyone is interested in participating in the tournament, reach out to me via TikTok, via Instagram, or getting a whole, or just emailing me. TikTok and Instagram, you can get, it's my name @riquasar, and if you want to email me to sign up for the tournament, it's mastergamerrikquasar@gmail.com. Yes, I know that's very brash of me, but whatever. Anyways, let's get into the explanation of Your Only Move is Hustle. Alright, this is Your Only Move is Hustle by Ivy Sly. There was a music soundtrack. There might be music playing right now. I just added that in. There's a soundtrack that just kind of loops over and over and over again. I just shut that off. Do with it as you will. But anyways, this is Your Only Move is Hustle. What you can do right off the bat, if you feel like it, you can go over to Customize. And this is what your character is going to look like. He can look like this, or this, or this, or this. It's going to depend on what class you play, but generally he's going to look like a little stick figure. And you can customize him to look like any color of the rainbow. It would be cool if he did like this little shuffling rainbow thing, but no, he does not do that. Anyway, you can choose his color, and you can choose his outline, and then you can even choose the particle effect of what it will look like when you hit said opponent. You can even have some Mario coins. Woohoo! And then you can choose your different little auras, the particles of the auras or the hit effects, all this little lovely goodness stuff. I haven't really played around with it. I'm not going to walk through this in this video. You guys can play with it as you want, but you can customize him to look really cool. All right, but we're going to go over to single player. When you have a special little style, you can load it into your character. My guy looks like he's on fire. And then you're going to choose one of these 4 classes. I'm going to choose the cowboy, and I'm going to make player 2 be the ninja. Now, right off the bat, there's a lot going on this little heads-up display. There is so many buttons, and I will try to get to them as we go along. But we are going to start with the main objective. Your main objective is to kill the other opponent. Now you're either going to start on the left side or the right side, and since I'm player 1, all of my inputs are going to be here on the left side. In a online match, which is what all of you will be playing in the tournament, you're going to be on one side or the other. Just keep that in mind. See, if you look up here, it would say your name and your little character, and this is your health bar. This is your opponent's health bar, and all of your moves will be down here. It will show all of your opponent's moves as well as your opponent's life and his burst meter and all that jazz. I will get to that. Anyways, so your objective is to kill the other person. You know this. This is a beat 'em up. You've played Tekken. You've played Super Smash Brothers. You've played Street Fighter. It is generally the same idea. You got moves. You use the moves to kill this guy. What's different is that the game plays out frame by frame. So this timer right here is how many frames is left in the battle. And each one of your attacks, your moves, your specials, your defense have a certain frame speed. Now, it's not going to tell you exactly, but it will tell you what the advantage is. Let's say I use horizontal slash. I click on it right here, and it plays out right here. Now it says that my frame advantage is plus 10. What that means is if my opponent is like standing still or whatever, my attack is 10 frames faster. Well, or 10 frames faster than whatever. Generally, there's some options that you want to keep an eye out for. Generally, you want to have a fast attack, right? Now, you want to make sure that you're going to hit the opponent. You have all these different attacks to use, and you want to make sure that you experiment with all of them to figure out what the fastest is going to be. Now, the opponent also has his own set of attacks. At the beginning of a match, both of you are moving at the same time. So, let's say I'm going to use horizontal slash. My frame advantage is plus 10. I'm going to hit him, right? I'm going to hit this guy, and he's going to be locked. Now, if my opponent tries to follow up with something else, he's going to get hit because my attack is faster than what he's going to do. Let's say my opponent just does a punch or nunchuck or whatever. Once you have your action that you want to do, you're going to press lock in. Look at that. So because my attack was faster than my opponent's, I hit him. And now he's locked in an animation of being hit. He's stunned, basically. See how it says ready right here and I'm green? And see how it says the opponent's ready right here and he's yellow? That means that my green character right here is going first before he does. And this means that this whole animation playing out right here is if I'm just not doing anything, right? If I'm not following up with another attack. So that means that, so right now I can do an attack. If I keep holding, I can go again. And if I hold again, I can go again. And there's 3 frames. I think there's actually, no, 8 frames. There's 8 frames, frame advantage. There's 8 frames before the opponent is reset. So let's say I click lock in. I'm not doing anything. I'm not attacking, not doing anything. I still have 8 frames of movement because my opponent is still locked in a stun animation. Let's press lock in again. All right, because I didn't attack, the opponent is now reset back into attack mode. So he's out of the stun animation and he can counter or attack or dodge or roll or whatever. What you want to do is if you hit the opponent, you want to make sure you keep them in that stun animation as long as possible so that you can unleash an onslaught of combos to deal as much damage as possible. Now, getting your opponent in a combo, getting him to be stunned, locked, whatever, it all depends on knowing your moveset. I'm not gonna spend this entire video walking through every single move and attack and special that your character has. You're gonna have to do that on your own. You gotta make sure that you know the character that you're playing as. There's only 4. It will not take you too long, I promise. Just experiment. Some other things to remind you is that slower isn't always the worst. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna use Impale. Now, because I used Impale and because Impale is slower, that means that so let me click right here. I'm gonna lock in Impale. So because I am moving so slow, my opponent can react. However, because I took a negative frame rate disadvantage on my last turn, I'm moving faster. So, and now I'm moving at plus 24 frame advantage, meaning I'm moving really fast right now because I took a negative disadvantage. Having a frame disadvantage is not the most awful thing in the world. Something up in the 34, in the 30s, that's pretty slow. You can use that to your advantage though. Having something that is a -1 like this is actually okay. And let me show you why. So it says that I have a -1 frame disadvantage. Well, what that means is that my opponent is going to have another turn to do an attack before my attack fully goes off. But let's say they're not doing anything. Let's say they're like getting up from a stun animation, or they just get ready, or whatever. Let me show you what happens. Now, because I had a -1 disadvantage, my animation is fully going through right now. Because I took the -1 animation, my frame advantage this turn is +49. That is crazy fast. Don't ask me what like the average frame advantage is. Anything, in my opinion, anything over a 20 is pretty decent. Everything over a 30, that's pretty dang fast. 40 and above, freaking have fun countering that. You better be blocking or dodging or something to dodge something that fast. So now, because I took a -1 frame disadvantage on my last turn, I'm moving at +49. So my opponent, he's gonna have a really hard time dodging what I'm doing. The only thing he really could do is block it, or oh wow, he can't even dodge. Yeah, he better block it. Or maybe he has a special attack that lets him absorb it, or whatever. It all depends. It's a chess game. You gotta know how fast your character's attacks are. You gotta know what his moves are. You gotta think of what the other opponent would do, etc, etc, etc. I'm actually gonna use a little bit of a cheat sheet. If you ever need a refresher of all these different buttons, you can go up here to the question mark, and that's what I'm gonna use. They will generally give you little descriptions. So we're gonna start with this frame counter up here. It's the number. The number represents the remaining amount of time in frames left in battle. Now, that's pretty important. Generally, what happens is, if all these frames get to 0, that has never happened to me before in a match. Whoever has the less health loses. Whoever has most health wins. Pretty straightforward. Right here is an indicator that shows you what action this player last selected. So if I lock in, it's telling me that I blocked and the other person just waited. So you want to keep that in mind, like if they did a slower attack or whatnot, and the full attack hasn't gone through the entire animation, you can see that, oh, he's about to use like throw a shuriken at me or summon something. Yes, that is some of the abilities. That's actually some of the abilities of the ninja. So that, and if the full animation hasn't played out yet, you can counterattack or something like that. I realized that in order for me to explain some of these other little descriptions right here, I have to tell you what the different options for your character is. So on this little readout down here, these are all your different actions that you can do. And we're gonna start with movement. Movement is exactly how it sounds like. You can use it to walk forward, walk backwards, jump, dash. Different characters have different move options. If you look over here, the ninja, he can dash forward, dash backwards, and jump. Because I'm a cowboy, I can dash in a diagonal line. I can use a warp stance, which lets me teleport. My cowboy's pretty cool. I can walk forward, walk backwards, and jump. Different characters have different movement options. However, what every character has is a jump, a super dash, and a super jump. Super dash just launches you forward, and super jump launches you upwards. The movement options will change depending on where you are. For example, let's say we launch ourselves up into the sky. Now that we're up here in the sky, we can use a double jump. Now we want to keep an eye on this over here, the air options. The air options, you only have 2 to use. So I can use my double jump right now. Double jump. Now, because I used my double jump, I only have 1 air option left. Once those air options are used up, I'm not going to be able to use like double jump or air dash or whatever until I touch the ground again. Oh, geez, my guy's launching into the air. So I can use an air dash or a double jump, or I can use an air dash or a double jump one more time, and then this option is gone, and then I have to fall back to the ground. So movement helps you get around the map. Well, let's get to the attacks. The attacks is pretty important because, you know, it's what you use to beat up the person. Now these are your basic attacks. They are generally going to be faster, meaning you want to use these to get your opponent into a stun so that you can use the specials. The specials are a little bit slower. Some of them are pretty quick. It depends on the character, but your specials are going to be different things that are going to be special to your character. They're going to be a little slower, a little bit more powerful, but you can use these at to combo the other person into some nice little chain attacks, whatever. You want to use a combination of attacks and specials to lock the opponent into combos, to beat the crap out of them, and generally win the game. Now over here, this is your super. Now, in order to use your super, you got to have levels. This level bar will fill up when you perform an action, hit your opponent, or take a hit. Now, the more levels you have, the more supers you can do. Some supers only cost 1 level point. Other supers can cost more. It all depends on the character. Learn your character. That's if I wish you guys can take anything away from this video, it's that. Learn the character that you're playing, because each character is different. And each character has a special superpower to use. But in order to use your super, you gotta have the levels to do it. The last little pip at the end right here is your defense. And defense is your blocks, your dodges, and hustle. Hustle is your taunt, right? Hustle is your taunt. It doesn't really do anything too special, but it's funny. Different characters have different defense options. My cowboy has a spot dodge, which can be really funny if someone is doing a slide attack or a dash attack or whatever. You can spot dodge them and the attack will miss and you won't be locked in a blocking animation. So it's pretty helpful. Now I want to touch upon some little options for your attacks, because depending on which attack you choose, you have some options in regards to directing them. So my horizontal slash, I can choose the angle of where I'm slashing. Like right here, I can do it straight forward, or I can attack at an upward angle. That's pretty helpful because I can use that to direct where I want my opponent to go. If I want to launch them up in the air to use some air attacks or whatever, it's cool. But also, like to point out, down here, with some attacks, you can flip the direction so you can attack in the opposite way. Maybe the opponent, you are going to be facing your opponent all the time when you're trying to attack them. Sometimes if they're being launched up into the air and you're beyond them, you might want to flip your attack so you can hit them as they're coming down. You just want to keep that in mind. Just experiment with it. Some other things, one thing is this undo button is not here. This is only because I'm in single player battle. But I would like to also point out that some movement options like super jump, you can angle which direction you're going to fly. Your walking, you can adjust how far you're going to go. And then some attacks and abilities, you can adjust the distance, the angle of which you throw the option. My cowboy has a teleportation when he gets enough levels, so I can adjust the direction of where I'm going to teleport. Each attack could potentially have a different option. Some attacks also have these little switches which can change the type of attack. Like for the cowboy has a sword and a gun. If I enable draw, he'll draw the gun to potentially shoot at the person. You really just want to know what your character has in regards to all their different attacks. Now, you're probably wondering, hey, what happens when I get locked in a combo? It's probably the end of the world, right? Well, no, not generally. Over here, you have some options to get out of a combo. Up top here, you have a burst meter. Now, the burst meter, let's say let's say my opponent hits me with a nunchuck. I'm gonna be locked into a stun animation, and he's gonna try to follow up with one of his attacks. Well, I can click this burst meter, which will launch him backwards and will interrupt the combo. Now, if you have the burst meter filled up, you can do that anytime you're locked in a stun animation. You can also use a burst cancel if you're in the middle of an attack and you think it's not going to if you think it's not going to hit, you can use your burst cancel, or what's called a whiff cancel, meaning you missed, to interrupt your own attack if you think that you're not going to follow up. Now, one thing to point out, the burst only fills over time. You can't fill it by attacking someone or by getting attacked. This will slowly fill. So watch that meter right there as I'm pushing it forward. It's slowly filling as the frames go by. So if you, let's say you use your burst cancel and your opponent expected it and they blocked, they can block your burst cancel. They can dodge it, they can block it. In fact, if you burst, they can use their own burst cancel to get out of the stunned animation. So you gotta be smart about what and choose the right time to use that burst. Otherwise, you just wasted your burst and your opponent's gonna do a crap ton more damage on you. Another way that you could potentially get out of a combo is this, your directional thingy. I really don't understand this completely, but basically, let's say I'm gonna point it straight up. Now, when your character is hit, they'll fly in that direction. Let's say I push it to my left and I'm getting hit. I'm not gonna fly too far to the right now. Let's say I'm getting launched upwards. Well, I'm gonna point this down. And let's say I point it all the way down and my opponent's trying to hit me up. Well, now I'm not gonna fly too high up in the sky, and potentially this will ruin your opponent's combo if you're flying in a different direction. You can play around with this, like if you know that they're gonna try to hit you in the sky, maybe launch yourself further up, or maybe make sure that you fall quickly back to the ground. You can input this directional input right here to have your character fly in a different direction to trip up the opponent to mess up their combo. That is really it in regards to how to play. The only other thing you got to really know is your characters. So I'm just going to give you guys a general description of each of the 4 characters. The 4 characters are the ninja. The ninja is a really quick, short-ranged character. They have very few long-ranged attacks, but they're very fast, they're very quick, and it's really easy to get combos with this guy. The cowboy is a little bit slower than the ninja, but he has a nice mix of long-range and short-range attacks. He also has teleportation abilities to zoom in close to his opponent. He also has a revolver that you can shoot 6 times and then you'll have to reload it. But you can use that revolver to get into some pretty cool combos if you know what you're doing. The wizard is a long-range class. You have a bunch of spells at your disposal to hit your opponent from afar. That being said, your up-close attacks, and they're not too fantastic, but you can use them in a pinch. You have a lot of projectile attacks that you can use, and a good amount of those projectiles are homing, meaning as if they don't hit the ground or a wall or whatever, they're gonna zoom in on you and try to trip you up. So the good majority of the time when I'm fighting a wizard, I have to keep dodging the homing missiles and make sure that I'm not getting hit by them. The robot is a heavy hitter and a heavy tank. They have some certain abilities that can absorb attacks. They can use their abilities to cause damage to you whenever they land on the ground. They have a lot of heavy stuff. A little bit slower. My opinion, probably one of the slower classes on this list, but their attacks are enormously. Their attacks probably give out the most damage. If you ever find a robot, you need to be quick, and you need to make sure you don't get hit by any of them. And that is all that I got to explain to you guys for your only move is hustle. If you are interested in participating in the tournament, please reach out to me. Like I said, over through TikTok or Instagram, or just straight up emailing me at mastergamerrikquasar@gmail.com. If you think I missed anything or you have any questions on how to play, I apologize. I'm still new at this game. I only picked it up recently myself. This is a new game. It came out in 2023. So if you have any questions, try to reach out to me. I might be able to answer them. I am free for little training tips and tricks. But like I said, I'm still new at this game myself. But if you need any advice and guidance, do not hesitate to ask. I'm very much enjoying this game, and I'm looking forward to the tournament itself. But until then, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep tabs on the archives for more news about the tournament coming on March 31st at 7 p.m. EST time. And don't miss the live stream if you're not participating. It's going to be fun. Ignorant Commentary is going to be commenting on the entire event. If you haven't checked those guys out, please go check them out on YouTube. They are fantastic. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the arena. Have a good night.